what's up guys? Welcome back to another video. I just got done my first week of school and it went really well. I'm heading home now and I'm going to be working on my startup Clava, so I wanted to take you guys with me. Today I'm mainly going to be working on tasks related to payments, so I think it's going to be a super interesting coding vlog. Let's get right into it. For those of you guys that are new here and are wondering what Clava is a student club management platform that allows student clubs to host events, manage their attendees, manage their finances, and it allows students to track all the activities and events they've been attending on campus while building themselves a portfolio. If you're curious and want more information, I'll leave a link down in the description for our website. Feel free to create an account and check out the platform. So my first task of the day is actually to fix a bug. Essentially, we noticed that in production, when students are buying tickets using e-transfer as a payment method, we're still calling Stripe's API and it's returning us a 500 level error for payment intents, which means we're creating a payment intent and sending it to Stripe for no reason. Now, this does not actually affect the functionality of our platform. However, it's a bug that I noticed and we're gonna fix it because it's bad practice to make unnecessary API calls. So let's get into it. You guys can clearly see the error here. It's returning a 500 because it's trying to create a payment intent, but there's no actual Stripe account associated with the club, so it just directly returns an error. That just means we're calling this API endpoint that creates a payment intent when we shouldn't be. So the fix for that is actually very straightforward. I just need to go into our front end code and see why we're still creating the payment intent when we shouldn't be. Because in the case where people are buying tickets with e-transfers, there should be no Stripe call made whatsoever. So the fix was actually very straightforward. Basically, based on the payment type, I then decide if I'm going to call the payment intent or not. This way, people buying tickets using e-transfers will no longer cause that 500 level error. Here's an example of why you have to be super cautious when working with AI. Claude just suggested that I run npx prisma migrate deploy instead of migrate dev. So there was no need for me to mess with the production database whatsoever for what I was doing. I literally just wanted to put myself up to date with the changes that we had in production. And had I made specific changes to my schema file and ran the command that Claude had asked me to, it could have messed up our production database. So, again, as I say in most of my videos, be careful when you're using AI. As you guys can see, our current checkout process does not actually let the user know what currency we're going to charge them in. So another small task I'm going to work on right now is just to add that it's in Canadian dollars during our checkout process. On our backend, whenever we make a Stripe call, we forcefully charge in Canadian dollars. So it's super important to let the users know that it actually is in Canadian dollars. Stripe actually charges us a 2% conversion fee if conversions are necessary on the currency amount. For that reason, by charging strictly in Canadian, the conversion fee gets charged by the user's bank and not by Stripe. This flow is what a lot of enterprises and companies do because it simply makes more sense to let the bank take care of the transaction, and as a company, we should be charging in our local currency. As you guys can see, I added the Canadian dollar label, so this way there's no confusion for the user buying the ticket which currency they're going to be charged in. So something really interesting is that me and one of my co-founders ran into the CEO of one of our competitors the other day. And keep in mind, this guy's the CEO of a multi-million-dollar company. We had like a 30-minute exchange with him and it was so positive and it went so well. And one key takeaway from that conversation and what he explained to us is that whatever industry you're in, there's so much market share available that even if you get just a tiny percentage of what's out there, your company can still become very, very successful. It was indeed very random to run into him, but I really enjoyed the conversation that we had and the insights that he shared on how he got there and the advice that he gave us. All right, guys, so I'm going to review one of my co-founders' PRs now. The purpose of this PR is to allow for ID upload upon ticket purchase. So this was actually a feature request by one of the clients we're going to be onboarding in the next few weeks. It was a particular use case where for their events, they needed to manually validate the IDs of the users who are attending. So as you guys can see here, from the club's perspective, you can actually choose ID upload as a type of question. So if you choose ID upload, and you make it required, when the user gets to the page where he has to buy his ticket, he's prompted to upload his ID. Once a valid picture is uploaded, he can then proceed and purchase the ticket. Then from the club's perspective, they then can come here and confirm that the payment has been received. So when they do that, they actually have access to the user's ID that he uploaded. In my case, I just uploaded a random screenshot, but this would be someone's ID that they wanted to show. And then from here, they can actually just confirm the payment or reject it based on the picture that they uploaded. All right, so I just finished reviewing the PR and QAing that branch. I approved it and it's ready to get merged now. So we store all our images using AWS S3 buckets. Essentially, this is just storing an image on a server somewhere that Amazon owns, and it allows for us to gather the images quickly and efficiently. So if you look at our general purpose buckets, you can see that we have different folders for different types of pictures that we're uploading into our S3 bucket. It's super cool to learn how these type of stuff works because it's super useful technologies, and it's a type of experience that I wouldn't have had if I didn't decide to work on Clava. If you guys are building anything, I highly recommend going with AWS. I've worked with EC2, their S3 buckets, and honestly, it's been pretty smooth. I haven't really run into too many issues. I've had to watch tutorials for certain things, like their identity access management was a bit complicated at first, but I ended up figuring it out with the help of YouTube. And honestly, I think that's the whole purpose of building cool stuff like this, is you get to learn a lot. Alright guys, so I just had dinner and I'm going to spend the rest of the night looking into some finance stuff for Clava. I'm mainly going to be reading up on some things about taxes and sales tax and stuff like that because, as you guys know, we mainly work with nonprofit organizations because student organizations are considered nonprofit, so we don't actually have to charge sales taxes. However, we're in discussion with some for-profit organizations that also host events. If we work with them, we have to understand the tax implications and what work needs to be done on our end. Alright guys, I'm going to wind down and call it a night. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe for more videos just like this one.